Okay, so so today's I'll be speaking on I think there are two things, right? So one is about what guild does, and then followed by some of the experiments that we want to kind of like embark on for this year. Right, so my name is Ibnur, right? So you want to find out more about me, you can go to my LinkedIn, right? If you go to my LinkedIn, a lot of the things which I tend to share tend to be more sustainability focused, right? And today I'll be covering I think three aspects of what I do, which is on nature, tech, and community, and a word which I kind of like coin, which is tinkering, right? The idea of thinking and tinkering to be done hand in hand, right? So how did I become a tinkerer? It's through experiments and through accidents, right? When I first started my journey into the innovation space, I was still in primary school, right? So I still remember when I was in primary six, me and a few friends, we started a microeconomy, right, where we will do people's homework in exchange for trading card games. And I think I know till today, I think there are some people still owe me some trading card games, right? And that was how I started entrepreneurship, and we almost got caught by the discipline mistress. But I think that was how I started to learn that, you know, by giving people value, right, by doing their homeworks or solving some of the difficult problem sums, you can actually get some not income, but in exchange for the value, we get some trading cards, right? And ever since then, I started to look at different inventors, right? I think I remember reading a lot about Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Tesla, right? And how they created their products, and even how they do their scientific discoveries. And I thought that that's my approach to learning about the world. Yeah. So the one aspect of my life is on eco inventions, right? So basically, in my hand over here, it's actually a floating garden or a floating chinampa, right? So later I'll cover a bit about what a chinampa is. So a chinampa is actually an ancient technology, right? Created by the Mesoamericans, right? Which is the Aztecs and the Mayan civilization, right? And then in the middle, I'm also a social entrepreneur by accident. So I grew up wanting to become a doctor, not wanting to become a business person. But circumstances made me realize that there is some power in entrepreneurship and using entrepreneurship to effect social change. And last but not least, this is also another thing by accident. It was during the COVID period, right, when there's a lot of mid-career professionals who got retrenched. I was being approached by SG United, right, to consider becoming a trainer, right, to train up the engineers who were retrenched to become more equipped for the Industry 4.0. Right? In my case, would be robotics and automation. Right? So on a daily basis, or rather on a weekly basis, I will be rotating between these three different roles, depending on the clients and the trainees or students that I engage with. Yeah, so what are the three things you need to be a good innovator? So at Guild, we have kind of these three focus areas. Without one of it, it's kind of it's not a Guild program if it lacks one of it. Yeah, so one is about the thinking part, which is the head, right? And then then there's the hand part, which is the tinkering part. And last but not least is the heart part, where it focuses on the purpose. Why are we doing this thing? Why are we inventing things in the first place, right? So these are the three things that are very, very important for us. There is also another framework which is more popular amongst the younger audience, right? And in schools. So this is one of the projects, or rather one of the courses that we conduct in the Canadian International School. So we also have a colleague who's a Canadian, right? And this is a robotics program, right? So basically the idea of how can we prepare the young ones, right, with technological skills. And in this case, actually, the challenge which I gave them later on is actually a humanitarian problem, right, which they need to navigate this robot across multiple obstacles. And this robot has two eyes, right, which can actually be programmed, right, to sense the environment. So these are some things that we do at Guild. So my innovation journey is varied, right? So I've served in government. So I used to work in the Ministry of Home Affairs as well as HDB. I grew up studying in NUS, and also later on I lived and worked and studied in Stanford in Silicon Valley and worked in a startup there. and also volunteer as well as serve, right, in non-profit sectors like such as Ground Up Initiative, which is the Eco Village or the Kampong here in Singapore. Yeah, so this is how I kind of like fell in love with innovation. It was in Silicon Valley. So this is actually a group of Singaporeans that visited my startup along Hamilton Avenue. So if you go further down this track, you will see Facebook's small office when they first started. So Facebook was also our client. So we do mobile payments. And later on, our startup got acquired by PayPal, and my CEO of Zong later on became the CEO of PayPal. And then later on, now he's in Facebook. He's the one behind Messenger. Something which people forget about Silicon Valley is it's not just about technology and innovation. It is actually surrounded by mountains, beautiful greenery. And that's when I fell in love with nature very, very much. Like yesterday, I had a breaking fast with some of my friends on a campfire, and it reminded me a lot about my experiences there in Silicon Valley. So nature is actually a key part of how you can get creative ideas even. And that influenced a lot of how I see development in Singapore, as well as around the world. Can people with the left brain and people with the right brain come together to come up with new innovation? And I think this is something which I strongly believe in. Having said that, scientifically speaking, this framework is no longer relevant. It's being replaced by a more robust framework. But the concept is there, right? To have different perspectives of the mind and the brain, right? To think and tinker on problems that the world is facing. So I'm going to skip this part. Hold on, this one will be... Yeah, so this is one of the things which are kind of like the problem that the world is facing. Yeah, so one of the paradoxes which I'm trying to understand is that in today's world, we are very, very wealthy compared to previous generations, right? We also have the very advanced technology, right? In terms of microchips, right? In terms of digital technologies and software. And we have a lot of global organizations, regional organizations, which make a lot of promises. But yet we still carry on cutting down trees. We still pollute the environment, right? This was the haze in 1997. We pollute a lot of, generate a lot of waste, right? I remember that time when I was in South Africa, around this early in the morning, I thought I want to climb a mountain, right? And then when the sun rise up, I realized that it's actually a big mountain of trash, right? So these are realities which I started to see when I travel around the world, and we still cannot feed enough people. Right? I think now with COVID and the increase in food prices, this would actually become a greater reality around the world. And we also have warfare, right? With Ukraine war, Russia war, right? And many other places of the world, right? It's becoming more, sadly, right? Even in the 21st century, peace seems to be very, very fragile. Right? And so this is what I call the going bananas equation, right? We have billions of dollars, billions of promises made, very high tech, but still we cannot save 1 billion people. So something's not right. Something's not right. Yeah, and what to do next, right, is to really to unlearn and relearn, at least for me, what I learned in my university, in my secondary school. And that's kind of like the guild approach, right? To kind of like, can we learn from the real world? And a lot of the programs that we run with Science Center, Long Life Learning Institute is to really push students and trainees into micro projects, right? To kind of solve actual problems, right? And if they are good enough, we'll push them for intention fairs around the world. Yep. So the kind of the three things which kind of like bug me almost every night is that, can we bring out more curiosity, creativity, and grit, not only in Singapore, but around the world? And how can we achieve this? It's something that kind of like bugs my mind like every night. Yeah. Because I see it as being very important. And the other mentors that kind of bug me a lot is Chairman Philip Yeo, right? So it's one of my mentors. And my late mentor, which is Lai Hock, right, who works on the 21st century kampong culture. Now, so these are things which I kind of like learn a lot from the mentors. So I would kind of jump forward to three things. Yeah, this one. So one of the projects that I'm currently working on is something called the floating gardens, right? And one of the problems that we want to solve is, can we grow food on water? So it's inspired by the water hyacinth, right? Where, you see things growing on water surfaces. And globally now we are facing a lot of floods, right? And not only that, we are running out of space to grow things on land. right? So can we start to grow things on water, right? So the floating chinampas is one solution that we're working on, right? So this is something that we are doing community, and this coming Saturday, we'll be doing it at Chua Chu Kang CC with 30 to 50 community members. So we are looking for private water bodies because PB doesn't allow us to use their water bodies for experimentation. So this is one request, right? And then the other one is actually this, we want to experiment with a heritage space, right? So this is actually a shop house that was formerly being occupied by engineering good, right? And basically the idea is that can we turn a shop house, right, into a co-working or co-innovation space, right? And that's what we are exploring with a good space members, right, who are keen to turn and convert and transform this space into a community invention or community innovation hub of sorts. So this is the ground floor on the left. On the right is actually the top floor, right? And the idea is trying to bring different, I would say, skill sets. I think something that AGS has is the diversity in the community, be it people in the nature sector, which is the environmental sector, people in the social sector, and then for us, it's people from the tech sector. Can we come them together and then activate a space, right, to do many, many things? So this is one of the, this is my second request. I think with that, I will kind of hand over here, right? And then I will hand over to Vincent to kind of like facilitate maybe any questions and answers that you all might have. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibnur. Wow, such a wonderful presentation in so many different ways. Thank you for sharing your work with us, and also part of your heart, your hand, and your head. So now we have some time for some questions. If anyone would like to ask Ibnur a question or respond to some of his offers or requests, please feel free to unmute yourself. Who would like to go first?
Maybe I'll try. Tatsi here.
Hi, Tatsi.
Hey, Ibnur. Good work you're doing. I was just kind of wondering, yeah, when engineering good vacated that place, how, in perspective, is this versus some of the other spaces that AGS has, like City up north and so on? Because I'm not familiar with the AGS today. And also, what do you intend to do that is outside of AGS, perhaps, Ibnur?
Yeah, so with regards to space, currently AGS is operating in Turkey, right? So basically it's a space within a bigger space, which is a bigger umbrella organization. The idea of this shop house is kind of have a space, which is a shop house, not within a bigger umbrella, right? But basically some form of autonomy where we can experiment certain things. The reason why engineering good had to vacate that space is because they needed a bigger space. Right? So because of the good work that they do with the computers against COVID, where they repair laptops, right? Now they are getting too many laptops. They
yeah,
Johan.
Space. Yeah,
I mean,
Johan
they did tell me that.
Good.
Yeah. So Johan was saying that, if Johan was saying, if not because of the many computers he would still stay in that space, like in the Little India space. But it's just beside an MRT. It's like literally 1 minute. I think less than that. Like if you run just beside the MRT. Yeah. On the other things which I do outside of AGS, basically we also operate at a village space in Singapore, right? It's called the Kampong Campus, where we do all of our environmental experiments. So our floating gardens, right, is also over there, but it's a private water body. We have it over there. We also have our floating gardens at Science Center, which is also another private water body. So a lot of things that we do very, very close. We work very, very closely with Science Center. They are like our I don't know, brother, sister lah. So if they have any problems or any ideas they want to kind of like bring science towards the whole of Singapore, they will usually ask us for advice, and then we will help them deliver or implement accordingly. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tatsi.
Thank you, Tatsi. Who would like to go next? Does anyone have other questions?
Not a question, but a comment. I just want to thank Ibnur because his bravery and courage of having started something in Singapore so long ago is one of the things that inspired me. And I was very grateful that he had that space and my son was able to discover something. And I'm very happy to see that now they're moving closer to the city area, which I think is a great potential. And yeah, just happy to see the growth.
Oh, thanks so much, Elda. Yeah, Elda inspires me as well. Yeah. Like all the maker stuff, right? That Elda does is something that we feel very passionate about. And I think it's something which I really didn't really touch in the presentation, is that how me and Elda and her son met is through something called the Maker Fair and Maker Carnivals. So basically, it's a revival of the hand. And I think it's something that is kind of missing in Singapore. Like I think from the millennials to Gen Z onwards, we are beginning to become a finger generation, right? Where we swipe and swipe and swipe. When a lot of change needs hands on generation. Yeah, so we kind of realized that we made a mistake when we kind of outsourced a lot of manufacturing overseas as well. So that was when I was in Silicon Valley. I heard in a private closed door conference, right? The Americans were they kind of regretted outsourcing a lot of their manufacturing capabilities to China. And the maker movement is to bring back that to their country. And also in Singapore, I believe it's good to bring it back to Singapore as well. Yeah.
Okay, Ibnur, we have 30 seconds left.
Ken.
Anyone with a quick comment or question?
Oh, I see a question by Vincent. How do you own a water body? So usually people with water bodies are either they are commercial farmers, right, where they grow fish, or somehow suddenly there's a water body because of rain or somehow flooding in your space, and then you're like, aha, that's a water body, right, a pond. Yeah. So these are things that that I have been explored around Singapore. The water bodies tend to come in those shapes. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder whether the schools will help, because like near our office there's Chongqing High School and they have like a huge pond in their school. So I'm not sure if talking to the schools might help.
Oh, that's interesting. Boleh. Can explore.
Okay. Okay. Otherwise, thank you, Ibnur. I hope that after learning more about Ibnur's ideas, some of you will reach out to him if you're interested to take up his offer of the space. It's a very beautiful space if you want to visit, but also to learn more about his projects and see how maybe that can cross-pollinate with your community.